emphasis on continuous learning. AI is constantly evolving, so we need to be constantly learning, adapting, expanding our knowledge base.
Today, we're diving into leadership principles. Especially as they relate to AI, all this AI stuff that's changing so fast. We've got a really interesting mix of sources for this one. Like we've got classic advice from, those big name executives who've been there and done that. And we also got like some really fresh perspectives on how to navigate this whole tech-driven world we're living in.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
But before we get lost in all the details,
Right.
let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you think makes a leader great? Like not just, decent, but truly exceptional. And how does AI kind of shake things up in that whole leadership equation?
Oh, that's a great question. And what's interesting is that even with all this crazy tech, some leadership principles just never get old.
Yeah, for sure.
Like throughout all the material you sent me, there's this constant focus on clear communication, right? Making decisive decisions, leading by example.
The fundamentals.
Exactly, those bedrock principles. But you know what gets really interesting? It's when you see those principles like actually play out in real life, through specific examples.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. Like seeing it in action is so powerful.
Yeah.
One of the sources profiles, Phil Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
The legendary basketball coach.
Right.
He was known for being, really tough on his players.
Demanding.
Yeah, demanding's a good word.
Yeah.
Like even confrontational sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But he still managed to earn the loyalty of, guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Yes, superstars.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder, right? Is there something to be said for pushing people beyond their comfort zone, as long as it's done, respectfully,
Yeah.
and you're building trust along the way?
Definitely raises some questions. And it kind of ties into another principle we keep seeing, building a positive culture.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Right. It's not just about being, the nice boss. It's about fostering this environment where people feel supported,
Okay.
but also challenged and driven to do their best work.
Totally. And speaking of positive cultures, another source highlights Satya Nadella,
Okay.
the CEO of Microsoft. He completely transformed the company culture, moved away from this strict hierarchy.
Interesting.
Yeah, where everyone was supposed to be like the expert in their little silo.
Yeah.
And he shifted towards what he calls a learn-it-all mindset.
Learn it all. I like that.
Right. And that shift helped Microsoft embrace new technologies and adapt to this crazy, rapidly changing market, which of course brings us back to AI and how it's affecting, well, everything.
It really is. And it's not just about using AI, right? It's about how AI is changing the whole idea of what it means to be a leader. We're seeing these two big themes emerge. AI is this incredible tool, and then AI is a disruptor, like shaking things up in ways we're just starting to understand.
Okay, so let's break that down. Let's start with AI as a tool.
Okay, sounds good.
So sources from both Cord.ai and Dell Technologies really show how much AI is changing the way businesses operate. Imagine being able to streamline financial planning with AI. Like you take these massive data sets and get instant insights into sales performance, market trends, even predict potential problems or opportunities.
Wow.
No more spending weeks building spreadsheets and relying on gut feelings, right?
Right.
The Dell Technology source has this great example.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of manually crunching numbers for financial forecasts, AI could do all the heavy lifting. Imagine having AI generate these detailed financial plans with all the assumptions laid out and even offer different scenarios, so you can see how tweaking things could change the outcome.
That's amazing. But it makes you think, right? A lot of people see AI as this mysterious black box.
Right.
How do you make sure you're not just blindly following whatever the algorithm spits out without understanding the why behind the recommendations?
Yeah, that's a really good.
That's where strong leadership comes in. This article really stresses the need for transparency and explainability when you're using AI. It's not about replacing human judgment. It's about adding to it with, data-driven insights.
So you still need leaders who can ask the right questions,
Absolutely.
challenge the AI's output, and make sure it's being used responsibly, ethically.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Okay, so leveraging the power of AI, but keeping humans in the loop makes sense. But to do that effectively, you'd need leaders with a whole new skill set, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like how many leaders are actually comfortable with things like, data analysis?
That's a great point. And this Dell source talks about exactly that, the need for things like change management, data literacy, and being able to explain the value of AI to your team, in a way that makes sense to them.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still people who make businesses run.
Exactly. AI is a tool, but it's up to the leader to build a culture where everyone feels like that they can use it effectively.
Makes sense. So we've talked about AI streamlining things like financial planning.
Yeah.
But what about, the creative side of things? Everyone's buzzing about generative AI,
Right.
how it can write everything from marketing materials to internal memos.
Yeah.
How do you see that impacting leaders?
Our core.ai source dives deep into that. It talks about how AI can create all this high quality content, marketing copy, blog posts, even scripts. And it's all tailored for specific audiences, follows brand guidelines, even optimized for different platforms.
Whoa, so it's personalized, on brand, and basically ready to publish.
Pretty much.
That sounds like a game changer,
Yeah.
especially for marketing and sales teams. But does this mean human writers are, like, going extinct?
The source is very clear about that. It says AI is not about replacing human creativity. It's about using AI to handle those more routine tasks. So the human writers can focus on strategy and the big creative ideas.
That's reassuring. Phew. But it does make you wonder, what skills will writers need in this future where AI can churn out so much content? Like, what does that collaboration between humans and AI actually look like?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's something people are debating across every industry. But one thing's for sure, adaptability and continuous learning are going to be essential. Writers who embrace AI as a partner instead of seeing it as a threat. The ones who learn to use these tools and really lean into their uniquely human skills, those are the writers who are going to thrive.
Absolutely. And how do you see that impacting leadership? Like, how do you manage and motivate a team when AI is constantly changing the nature of their work? How do you keep people engaged when the rules are changing so fast?
That's where those human-centric leadership principles become even more important. Building that culture of trust and transparency, making sure your team feels supported as they're learning all these new skills. Leaders need to be upfront about how AI is being used, right? Address any concerns their teams might have, and offer opportunities for everyone to upskill and grow.
Because change can be scary, especially when it involves technology that's developing so rapidly.
Yeah.
I mean, people worry about job security, about being replaced, about not being able to keep up.
You're absolutely right. And that's why strong leadership is so crucial in this whole AI age. It's about guiding your team through the uncertainty, empowering them to embrace new technologies, and making sure AI is used in a way that benefits everyone, not just the company, but society as a whole.
That brings us to another point that came up in one of the sources.
Okay.
It's about inclusive leadership, but specifically within the context of AI development. Why is that so important?
Well, this article argues that diversity in AI development isn't just, a nice to have. It's absolutely essential for ethical AI. It points out that AI models learn from the data they're fed. And if that data reflects existing biases, the AI is just going to perpetuate those biases.
So if we want AI systems that are fair and benefit everyone, we need diverse teams building them, right?
Yeah, how's that?
Teams with a wide range of perspectives and lived experiences.
Yeah, it's not just about the code. It's about the human values that guide the development of that code.
And that's where leadership plays such a critical role. Executives have a responsibility to champion diversity and inclusion at every level, especially in the teams that are shaping the future of AI.
Couldn't agree more.
Making sure everyone has a voice.
Yeah.
That the technology we create reflects the best of humanity, not just the biases of a few.
It's a big responsibility.
It is, but it kind of circles back to those core principles of great leadership.
Yeah.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Vision. And the courage to do what's right, even when it's tough.
Absolutely.
Those qualities seem even more essential now in this age of AI.
For sure.
It's not just about efficiency. It's about using this technology to actually make the world a better place.
I couldn't agree more. The question for leaders is not just, how can we use AI to hit our goals, but how can we use it to build a better future for everyone?
That's a powerful way to frame it. And I think we've covered a ton in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about those core principles of leadership, how they're being reinforced but also challenged by AI, and how vital it is to really think about the ethical implications of these powerful technologies. Before we move on, I'm curious, what's resonating with you so far? What's standing out as you think about your own leadership journey?
That's a good question. You know what? Hold that thought. Because in our next segment, we're going to get even more practical. We'll explore specific examples of how AI is impacting different industries and, the unique challenges and opportunities it creates for leaders.
I can't wait. It's an exciting time to be a leader, and we're here to help you navigate this whole new frontier with confidence and purpose.
So, let's kind of shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and look at how these leadership principles are actually playing out, like in the real world.
Yeah.
Especially as AI becomes more and more a part of, like, every industry.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because one of our sources really dives deep into the world of sales,
Yeah.
sales operations.
Uh-huh.
And it's clear that AI is like totally changing the game there.
A whole new ball game.
Exactly. Like traditionally things like financial planning, go-to-market strategy, even analyzing sales performance.
Yeah.
It was all very human intensive. Like it relied as much on intuition as it did on hard data. But this article from Dell Technologies
Okay.
explains how AI is changing all of that.
Interesting.
It's like AI is giving sales leaders superpowers.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine being able to analyze massive amounts of data in real time, getting insights into like everything from individual sales rep performance to overall market trends.
Yeah.
You could even predict potential risks and opportunities before they even happen.
So no more relying on spreadsheets and guesswork.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like having a crystal ball.
That's incredible.
The source gives this really cool example with financial planning. So instead of spending like weeks manually crunching numbers, building these forecasts,
Yeah.
AI can just do it all.
Yeah.
Generate super detailed plans, like with all the assumptions laid out, and even offer, different what-if scenarios. So you can see how tweaking things could impact the outcome.
Okay, so it's like super efficient.
Yeah.
But, AI is often seen as this kind of like mysterious black box.
Yeah.
So how can leaders make sure they're not just blindly following what the algorithms are telling them, without really understanding the why behind the recommendations?
That's a great point. How do you balance that?
Well, that's where leadership really comes in. This article stresses the need for transparency and explainability when you're using AI.
For sure.
It's not about replacing human judgment. It's about, like, enriching it. Adding to it with data-driven insights.
So you still need leaders who can ask the right questions,
Oh, absolutely.
challenge the AI's output,
Hmm.
and make sure it's being used ethically, responsibly.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Okay, so leverage the power of AI, but keep humans in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. But to do that effectively, leaders are going to need like a whole new skill set.
Oh, for sure.
Like how many leaders are actually comfortable with things like, data analysis or really understanding algorithms?
That's a great question. And this Dell source, it talks about the need for things like change management, data literacy, and being able to, like, communicate the value of AI to your team, in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, because ultimately it's still humans who drive businesses, right?
Absolutely. AI is a tool. It's up to the leader to create that culture where everyone feels empowered to use these tools effectively.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Mm.
So we've talked about AI streamlining things like financial planning, but what about the more creative side of things? Like everyone's talking about generative AI now, how it can write marketing copy, product descriptions, internal memos. How do you see that impacting leaders?
Well, our source from core.ai dives into that pretty deeply. It explains how AI can create really high-quality content, like tailored for specific audiences, consistent with your brand guidelines, even optimized for different platforms.
Whoa. So it's personalized, on brand, and basically ready to publish.
Pretty much.
So, that sounds like a game changer, especially for marketing and sales teams. But does this mean, like, human writers are going extinct?
Not quite. The source really emphasizes that AI is not about replacing human creativity. It's about using AI to handle those more routine tasks. Free up human writers to focus on the strategy, the big creative ideas.
Well, no, that's good to hear. But it does make you wonder, what skills will writers need in this future where AI can churn out so much content? Like, what does that collaboration between humans and AI actually look like?
That's a great question. And it's something people are debating across pretty much every industry. But one thing's for sure. Adaptability and continuous learning are going to be key. Writers who embrace AI as a partner, not a threat, who learn to use these tools effectively and really lean into their uniquely human skills. Things like storytelling, emotional intelligence, critical thinking. Those are the writers who will thrive.
So how does that impact leadership? Like, how do you manage and motivate a team when AI is constantly changing the nature of their work How do you keep people engaged when the rules are changing so fast?
Well, that's where those human-centric leadership principles we talked about become even more important. Building a culture of trust and transparency, making sure your team feels supported as they learn these new skills. Leaders need to be really upfront about how AI is being used, address any concerns their teams might have, and really provide opportunities for everyone to upskill and grow.
Yeah, because change can be scary, especially when it involves technology that's developing so rapidly. People worry about their jobs, about being replaced, about not being able to keep up.
Absolutely. And that's why strong leadership is so crucial in this age of AI. It's about guiding your team through that uncertainty, empowering them to embrace new technologies, and ultimately making sure AI is used ethically and responsibly to benefit, not just the company, but society as a whole.
That makes me think of this story I read recently. It was about this CEO who was implementing AI in their company.
Oh, yeah.
And they were so focused on like the technical aspects and, all the potential cost savings
Mm.
that they totally overlooked the human side of things.
Mm.
Like they didn't communicate clearly with their employees.
Mhm.
There was a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance. People were scared.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how, even with the best intentions, neglecting the human side of AI can really backfire.
Right. It's a reminder that leadership isn't just about technology. It's about people.
Exactly. And it goes back to those core leadership principles: empathy, communication, and building trust.
Speaking of trust, one of our sources talks about AI and financial advisors.
Okay.
And it makes this argument that, like, while AI can be this amazing tool for advisors, it's crucial to be transparent and build trust with clients.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially in finance where people are entrusting their hard-earned money.
Exactly. The article talks about how AI can be used to personalize financial advice, provide more efficient portfolio management, and even detect potential fraud.
Wow.
But it also cautions against relying too heavily on AI, stresses the importance of human oversight, human judgment.
So it's about finding the right balance, using AI to enhance the advisor's skills, not replace them.
Exactly. And it's about being transparent with your clients. Explain how the AI is being used. Make sure they understand both the benefits and the risks.
Right. It's all about building that trust.
Right. Which is like the foundation of any successful advisor-client relationship. This whole conversation about AI and financial advisors, it makes me think about the bigger picture of leadership in like every field.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the ability to navigate this new world of AI-powered tools while still maintaining that human connection and trust, that's going to be what sets great leaders apart.
I completely agree. In a world where technology is advancing so rapidly, it's those human qualities: empathy, integrity, the ability to build relationships that will make all the difference.
It's a good reminder that leadership isn't just about what you know. It's about who you are, how you connect with others.
Well said.
And as AI keeps changing the business world, those human qualities will become even more valuable.
For sure.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are your key takeaways so far? What's resonating with you?
I'm struck by this recurring theme of balance. Balancing the power of AI with human oversight. Balancing efficiency with empathy. Balancing, technical expertise with that ability to build trust and relationships.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not about AI versus human leadership, right? It's about finding that synergy between the two.
Exactly. And that's where the real challenge and the real opportunity lies for leaders in the age of AI.
Well said. Now, in our final segment, we're going to explore how leaders can actually prepare themselves and their teams for all the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. And we'll leave you with some thought-provoking questions to consider, as you continue on your own leadership journey. So as we wrap up our deep dive into leadership in this age of AI, let's step back for a second and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
I mean, we've covered a lot from those, core principles of leadership to the way AI is transforming everything and how those two things intersect.
Yeah, and throughout our conversation, you've brought up some really insightful questions about, what it really means to be an effective leader in this world that's changing so fast. It's clear you're putting a lot of thought into this, which is great.
Well, thanks. One thing that keeps coming up in all these sources is this idea of leadership as a journey. This constant process of learning, adapting, growing. And it feels like that journey is getting like even more complex and demanding as AI keeps evolving.
Oh, absolutely. The challenges and the opportunities that AI presents, they require a different kind of leader. Someone who's comfortable with tech, but also really connected to that human element of leadership.
So it's not just about understanding how AI works.
Right.
It's about really grappling with those ethical dilemmas,
Right.
the impact AI has on society, and how it affects people on a personal level.
Exactly. And that calls for a whole set of skills and qualities that go beyond, like, the traditional leadership playbook.
We talked about resilience, empathy, visionary thinking,
Mm-hmm.
but we also saw examples of leaders who are demonstrating, like, real courage,
Yeah.
humility, a commitment to inclusivity, qualities that maybe weren't emphasized as much in the past.
Those are the qualities that'll help leaders use AI for good. Create a future where tech serves humanity, not the other way around.
It's a powerful vision,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also feel a bit daunting, to be honest. Like, how do we even start to prepare for a future that feels so uncertain, especially with AI advancing so quickly?
One of the most valuable takeaways, I think, is this emphasis on continuous learning. AI is constantly evolving, so we need to be constantly learning, adapting, expanding our knowledge base.
So it's about staying curious, asking questions, seeking out new information and perspectives, not being afraid to say, I don't know.
Exactly. And it also means being willing to challenge your own assumptions, to experiment, to embrace new ways of thinking and working. Because what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
Yeah. It's like we need to be comfortable with being a little uncomfortable, embrace the uncertainty, and see it as a chance to learn and grow. And I think that ties into something else we talked about, the importance of community.
Oh, absolutely. You can't navigate this new frontier alone. You need to connect with other people who are going through the same things, share what you're learning, learn from their experiences.
Yeah, whether it's industry events, online forums, mentorship programs,
Right.
finding your tribe is essential in this AI age.
For sure.
It can feel really isolating otherwise, especially for leaders who might be feeling overwhelmed by the pace of change.
And, don't forget about self-care.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah. Leading in this age of AI, it can be intense. You're constantly processing information, making decisions with, like, huge implications. It's easy to burn out.
So true. It's easy to get caught up in the urgency of it all and forget to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Making time for rest, for reflection, for things you enjoy outside of work.
Right.
Those are essential for staying grounded and energized.
Absolutely. And it all feeds into, cultivating a growth mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities to learn, and setbacks as stepping stones. That kind of resilience is crucial for leading in this world that's being shaped by AI.
So much of what we've talked about really comes down to mindset, doesn't it? It's not just about the tools, the tech. It's about how we approach them. And that brings me to a final thought-provoking question for everyone listening. If you could create an AI assistant, to help you become a better leader, what specific skills or knowledge would you want it to focus on?
That's a really great question to reflect on. It makes you think about your strengths, your weaknesses, where you might need support, and the qualities you really want to develop as a leader in this new era.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to take some time to really dig into that question, maybe write about it, talk it over with a colleague, or even brainstorm with your team. You might be surprised by what you discover.
This has been an amazing deep dive. We've explored so much. The changing nature of leadership, how AI is impacting every corner of the business world, and those human skills that are becoming even more vital in this new landscape.
And it's clear that you're already thinking deeply about these issues. I have no doubt you'll continue to evolve as a leader as AI becomes, even more intertwined with our lives.
Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it. And the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.
So lead with courage, with empathy, and with a commitment to creating a future where everyone benefits from the power of AI.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into leadership in the age of AI. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even inspiring.
And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading.